Would he ask you questions?
Yeah, sometimes he'd want answers or my response to what he'd said. So I'd give him my response.
What if you didn't know the answer?
Sometimes, if it depended on what the question was, but if I could look it up, he'd make me go find the passages in his little library of books that he had, which was in the other living room. And I'd spend my time searching. If I found it, I came back. If enough time went by, he'd say, just forget about it, just come back. And then I'd come back and sit down, and he'd tell me the answer. Sometimes I would get a lot of answers wrong, and he would just sort of start tensing up and shaking his head, and he'd sort of just explode.
What would happen when he exploded?
He'd just reach out and he'd grab you. And usually with me, he'd open the sliding glass window and he'd just throw me outside onto the porch. And just close the door.
How long would you stay outside?
A few hours.
This happened only in the summertime?
No. I remember the winter times most. Because then I would go into the nice dog house they made. It had the wood chips in it, and it was warm, and I'd hang out in there.
Did you keep any provisions in there for these times?
I did in Pennington.
What did you
keep? In Muncie, I didn't.
In Pennington, what type of things did you keep in the doghouse for when you were thrown out?
I kept the blanket that I kept in there always, and toilet paper I kept in there, sometimes food.
So this is something that went on for most of your life living in the house, is that you'd be thrown outside as a punishment?
Until I was like 17. I don't remember it after that.
Would Eric be asked questions at the table?
Sometimes he would be asked questions. Most of the time he would try to answer a question or something and my dad would just tell him to shut up. And he was very rough with Eric. Eric just sort of tried to get involved a lot, and that would really upset my dad.
Eric wanted your dad's attention?
He wanted to be part of what was going on. And he would just wander into the conversations. And sometimes with my dad, I remember one time that he was in the black chair and I was by the coffee table and we were doing something and my brother sort of just wandered into the area and my dad just hit him across the face. And my brother just went flying into the rug. And his whole face was bruised.
What was wrong with Eric? Why didn't your dad want to pay attention to him? Did your dad say, would he say things to Eric? What was wrong with him?
No, they would just tell him to shut up and go away. And why can't you just shut up and go away? Basically what I remember he would say. And my brother would just stand there. And my dad would have to push him away or he would hit him. And then my brother would, like that time, just go cry and try to find his mother.
Did your mother ever come back and say anything to your dad about the way he was treating Eric or the way he was treating you?
No.
In these talks that you had, would your dad talk to you about setting goals and meeting those goals?
Yes.
What kinds of things would he say?
My life was structured with little goals, and he would say that we need to set short-term goals, and some of these were like to fix the flaws that I seem to have with walking.
What kind of flaws did you have with regard to walking?
Section Vegas time.
Rephrase the question.
You said that he talked about flaws with walking. Did you have a problem with the way you walked at
Yes.
some point in time?
Yes,
When?
I still do, I think.
What was wrong with the way you walked?
Just with the feet outward.
And besides talking to you about it as a goal, as a flaw to be corrected, how else did he deal with this flaw of yours?
Made fun of all our anything like that. He made fun of in our family. The walking, he would walk behind me and make quacking noises and say I walk like a duck, and get Eric to make quacking noises.
Would this be done on a public street
Yes,
with people around?
yes,
Did that embarrass you?
yes.
What other flaws did he set as goals to be corrected?
Speech.
What was wrong with your speech?
I didn't enunciate properly. That's what he said countless times. And I also sometimes stuttered because I just couldn't respond because I'd be so tense.
And what would he say when you stuttered? How would he handle that?
To make fun of it,
What would he say?
he'd just stutter back. And sometimes he would send me in a room and say, come back when I can talk. Sometimes he would just stutter. Sometimes he would just wait. And I would just keep trying to get the words out. And he knew what I wanted to say. And he just let me go on.
And how old were you at these times when he was making fun of your stuttering?
I mean, the earliest I can remember, and maybe like pretty much mostly in Muncie and sometimes in Pennington if I got really nervous. I didn't really have a stuttering problem like my brother did more. I just, in some talks with my dad, I just was like crumbling. I just couldn't get the words out. Couldn't form the sentences.
When you were little, do you remember her being gentle and affectionate with you?
She was never gentle and affectionate with me.
Did she ever act like she loved you?
Not when I was little. And there was just one short period of time when I thought that might be true. But like I said before, I mean, I felt that she hated me. And that's what she told me all the time.
Do you have memories of a child of being left places, your mother just sort of abandoning you at places?
Yes.
What's your earliest memory of that?
It was in the airport with
Oh.
my little brother. I was like, I don't know if I was 5 years old.
Darn, I can barely hear the witness.
All right, try to speak up, please.
Okay. And I was there with all the luggage with my mom, and I had my brother either on my knee or sitting next to me. And we had all these suitcases around. I was at the airport with my mom, and I think that's the first time I remember being at the airport anyway. And she's just left, and I called after her, and she just left, and I waited by the luggage with my brother, and she was lost in basically the people that were shuffling around, and she just disappeared around the terminal, and she was gone for a long period of time. don't know, I was panicking. I wasn't sure whether to go try and find her after a while, or I was take my brother with me. And I just decided that if I left the luggage, my dad would find out. So I just stayed there. And seemed like an amazing amount of time later, she came back. And, you know, my brother was crying. And I was just, I didn't want to say anything, so I just didn't say anything.
Why didn't you want to say anything? Why didn't you say, I was scared? Where were you?
I just didn't want to say that.
Why?
Because you know, she was very reactionary, and she could try to hit me or just yell and scream or go off, and I really never volunteered something like that. If I could, unless I felt like I had to help her or something.
Did your mom take you and your brother along with her shopping? You go to shopping malls?
Yeah, I went to shopping malls with her all the time.
What would happen when you'd go to shopping malls with your mom?
She would leave, and my brother and I, sometimes we would just stay in the car. And I remember being in the car while she shopped for hours.
What age?
Till I was about 10 years old, 11 years old.
What would you do if you had to go to the bathroom?
We went in between the cars. And then a lot of times she would bring me in, and then she would get lost.
What do you mean she would bring you into the shopping mall?
Yeah, we would be following her around, and she would be walking quickly, and she would just leave a store and go into another store. And I would try to keep track of her and play with my brother, and we just, sometimes me not paying attention, sometimes her just disappear when I didn't notice. And these were big malls, and I rarely could find her. I would look, and then I would go back to the same store and hope she would come back. And I would never turn myself in to the security people, but the storekeeper would ask suspicious question, where's your mother? Because I was only like, you know, I was under 10 years old, and I would not have an answer, and they would call, they would say, wait here, and they would come pick me up. This happened at lots of different malls. They would come pick me up, and we would either be in the little booth thing in the middle of the mall with all the push carts, and we would just wait there.
When you say we, is this you and your brother?
My brother and I.
Would they page your mom?
They would page, I would say my name, and they would page my mother. And always she would wait until she was done, and then she would pick me up on the way out.
And how long would that be?
Anywhere from an hour to, she would shop for a few hours. And I would know we were going to be there for a long time.
Would the
And
security